Okay. First off, thank you both for joining us. For today's discussion on ThinkUBator, we're talking about networking in your personal brand. Our speakers are Alex and Jeff, and I will hand it on to them.
Great. So Alex and I can keep this pretty free form today. My preference is to be with you guys if possible on campus there. And what you may not know is that I am a University of Baltimore undergrad graduate 2001. I left the University of Baltimore with the intent to open my own business. I was going to be a climbing equipment manufacturer's representative. So that's a fancy way of saying I was going to sell carabiners for a living. So I spent most of my second 2 years of college getting a marketing and finance degree from UB with the intent to go run this sales organization. In the path of doing that, I came across Northwestern Mutual as a viable business opportunity that was far better than what I had intended to go do. Which was really interesting because it was 2 years of work that I had put into building a business plan, marketing strategy, go-to-market strategy in the climbing industry. And I scrapped that in about 45 seconds after having met our managing partner. And I threw 2 years of work in the trash can and rebuilt a plan with all my newfound University of Baltimore knowledge and rebuilt a go-to-market strategy and business plan for how to launch a Northwestern Mutual career. And I'm so grateful that I allowed myself to pivot and change brands of who I thought I was going to become to what I've become today. So maybe there's lesson number one, which is don't get too attached because what you think is right may not be. So how do you know? I don't know. Listen to your gut, have trusted people around. So I've been with Northwestern for 20 years, from 2001 to September 2021. So I'm in my 20th year here. And it's been fantastic. Alex and I get the pleasure of working together every single day. And I'll turn it over to Alex to give us a little bit of background on himself, and then we'll dive into a little bit of this content on networking and brand.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Jeff. So my name is Alex Parker. I graduated from Towson University in 2020. So I'm a little bit younger and earlier off in my career than Jeff is here. So I'm going on my third total year in the business. I was an intern for a couple of years before converting full-time. So I get to work with Jeff every day as a field director. I work a lot in networking, connecting, recruiting, development, all that good stuff, which is a part of my job that I love. I got to Northwestern Mutual in an interesting way through a previous relationship that I had. My girlfriend at the time, her grandfather was a managing partner down in Kansas City, and he connected me up here. And similar to Jeff, I got connected with the management team here, and I knew immediately that I was gonna love what I do. I was blown off my feet immediately, and still love what I do every single day. I'm finishing up a master's in supply chain management as well at Towson. I don't have any connection to UB like Jeff does, but I've heard a lot of great things. I know, met a lot of great people from there. So you guys are certainly in good hands over there. And thank you for the ability to come out and speak to you guys today.
Cool. Thank you, Alex. So why don't we dive right in? So, topic of the day is networking in your personal brand. So I'll go back and kind of flesh out a few thoughts on one brand, or even specifically personal brand. And as I shared with you before, I mean, my brand as a professional, from the time I was 18 years old to the time I was 25 years old, so 7 years, which is a third of my life. At the time, I spent living in the back of a pickup truck in West Virginia and Colorado and Wyoming and South America, climbing mountains, guiding rock climbing, selling climbing equipment. And that was my life's work, right? To my belief, at 25 years old, I believed that that's what I would be in that industry and doing that work for the rest of my life. That was my brand. That's what people knew me as. That's what I shared with people I did when I was most passionate about describing what I did in my life. It was those things. And yet I had to rebrand upon graduating from the University of Baltimore into something entirely different. And so you can imagine what that was like when I would call friends and say, I'd like to come out and see if I could be your financial advisor. They'd say, what? You're an insurance agent now? For Northwestern Mutual, I thought you were the climbing guy, right? So how do you, going through that painful process of reteaching everyone in your natural market or your network that your brand is shifting, and asking for them to give you some space to shift your brand as you go through the messy work of recreating yourself, right? So just to be clear, changing your brand is not a total value shift, right? You're not becoming a different person. You're just becoming a different version of yourself. It can be scary to do, and most people don't want to do it, right? I could have just been steadfast in this is who I am, and this is what everyone expects me to be. And I'll just keep going. I'll say no to the Northwestern Mutual opportunity as it was given, and continue down this path, because it's easier to continue the path, because this is what momentum has me doing, and this is what people expect, right? And that becomes a lot of what brand perpetuation, personal brand perpetuation, is what the market expects of you, right? But rather than do that, I made the harder choice to go rebrand. So you guys might be going through that as you think about even Nathalie, the work that you're doing in would you say consumer experience or customer experience, or was that what the term was you did, right? How long have you been studying that?
Currently, this is my second semester.
Got it. So not quite long enough to be married to it. Gotcha. But I'm sure there are things in your life, Alex, have you ever had an experience where you've had to rebrand from what the world knows of you as a person to something new?
Yeah, and I think that comes down to similarly what you were saying there, Jeff, about with rock climbing, you were the climbing guy. And I think a lot of times coming into the corporate world or a new job, we kind of take that brand of I have to be so professional, I got to be so much older, when in reality, you have to adapt a more professional sense of yourself, as Jeff was saying, but it definitely is not a value shift. I think that young people can bring a lot onto the table. Obviously Jeff, when he got in here 20 years ago, had a different experience and has a different viewpoint on the business 20 years from now as you do, right? So you can bring new culture, new ideas in, but you can get that brand to align with, a company that has a good value proposition, a good mission statement, and things like that. But I think the most important thing is don't change it completely, right? But a lot of people are going to look at you as your peers, as the new person, but you do bring a lot to the table, and it's important to remember that when you're kind of focusing on what your brand is, remembering that you do bring a lot of value to the table as a young professional from a different generation.
Perfect. Thank you. Darian, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you both as well.
Let's talk a little bit about, I got a slide deck here. I don't love it. I'm going to reference it on my own, but I probably won't put it up, but we can probably send it to you. It would be worth going through kind of, if you're in a networking environment, if you guys been to a networking event, maybe not. I mean, the world is different than it was in 2019 even, or early 2020, but have you guys started to do professional networking? What's that look like in your space? I got an hour. I can sit quietly the whole time. Come on, Darian. You've been networking? What have you been doing out in the world?
Not really, because it's kind of hard. So I do like video production, and I primarily like do it through my job. So trying to start a video production business. So it's kind of hard to like network while I'm on the job. And because of like COVID, like I have two small children, so like I haven't been out to networking like things. So
Yeah.
it's made like things difficult.
All right. Natalie, anything? Have you been out networking, been to professional networking events?
I've done networking because I used to do photography, and I would always hand out like business cards or like just show them my portfolio. So that's the networking I know of. I know there's more traditional formats of networking where you go to conferences and all of that. But I haven't done that. So that's the only one I could say.
Clarissa, anything? Saw the mute button go off, but I got nothing.
I believe
Just chat it in there.
Doesn't work.
Just sorry. Anyway, let me share this. No one loves networking events. Alex and I were laughing about this because we get to come on and do a thing on personal brand and networking, and networking is miserable. But it is a necessary evil sorry, I was just reading Clarissa's chat there. It's necessary to get out there and put yourself out there and engage the people around you. How else are they going to find you? Most of us, and even what Natalie just shared about photography and Darian just shared about video production, those are personal service businesses, right? There's individuals or businesses that need to hire you to perform your service for their gain or their benefit. And nothing speaks better to that ability than just having a personal relationship with somebody. And so going to a networking event or finding yourself at a conference or finding yourself surrounded by people or even with friends, how do you start sharing with them what you do and what value you can bring to them or how they might introduce you? So have you guys done any work in trying to come up with your value statement or something, how you might say that to somebody in a social environment or a networking environment? Darian, have you ever had to do that at all over the years?
Yeah, that's what like we're in the process of now, coming up with like a mission statement and a value statement. And I've had practice with that because of my job. Like, you know, we're like not constantly, like over the past few years, we've been like re-examining like what our mission statement is and like how is it aligned. So it's weird. So I work at a nonprofit where we have a nonprofit side where we're teaching students video production, and then we have a for-profit side where we're taking on clients like Under Armour, Maryland State Art Council. So making sure like those two align, because it can be very difficult when it's like education, something that's not, you know, we're not getting profit on, and then something we are getting profit on. Sometimes the lines can get blurred as far as like when the money comes in, and certain clients we're working with, we want to make sure is appeasing to like both sides of our organization.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right on. Thank you for sharing. It's important to have the ability to share with people what your value is, what you stand for when you engage them, and you need to do it very quickly, right? You can't draw it all out. I mean, they call it the elevator pitch, right? They give you the time from the first floor to the 25th floor. We're on the 25th floor downtown. The elevator ride is not long enough for me to say anything, but I got to be able to. What if somebody gets on the elevator and asks me what I do? What do I say that's compelling? And so that becomes the art of your pitch. So one of the tricks that I've found really helpful is if you're in an environment, a group of people, a crowd of people, a networking event, a conference of people that you think might be good business opportunities for you, is you deploy the magic question, right? So the magic question goes a little something like this. So I might say, hey, Alex, it's nice to meet you. My name's Jeff. Are you from the area?
Yes, I am.
Great. You born and raised here?
Yep, I'm from Carroll County.
Carroll County. Where is Carroll County? That sounds very country to me.
Yeah, it's about 40 minutes away. It's northwest of the city.
Gotcha. So I wasn't wrong.
Yeah.
What do you do for a living, Alex?
I am a financial planner.
Oh, no kidding. How'd you get into that?
Yeah, I had a connection through an old friend of mine. Fell in love with it as soon as I got into it.
Really? I mean, that's a strong statement. What is it about it that you love?
Yeah, I love the independence and the impact that I get. I love to be able to control my own schedule, the flexibility, and love being able to make a difference in my clients' lives.
Awesome. Man, that must be fulfilling work.
Absolutely is.
All right. So the art of networking is the art of asking a lot of questions. Now, inevitably, if I could do this all day long, right? There's an endless number of questions that I could ask Alex, right? The art of being conversational is just asking follow-up questions. And in their answers, you will find your next question if you're really listening. But inevitably, Alex is going to get tired of answering before I get tired of asking. Fair? Because all I have to do is, oh, that's interesting. That's a bold statement. Tell me about that. I'm not saying anything. I'm just being aware that I was given a response. So, and he might say, well, I really love it. And I love the impact I have. Well, tell me more. Like, what is the impact? Like, what do you really see the impact is? That's it. That's all. It takes nothing for me to just ask it. And he's going to have to think through it. And once he's mentally tired enough from answering all of these questions of mine, which is really only a few minutes, he's going to ask the obvious question back, which is what, Alex?
What do you do?
What do I do? Oh, I'm glad you asked. Well, I help my clients with their financial planning needs. I help people become millionaires over time and live the life that they want by design. But of course, now is not the time or place to have that conversation. That's super boring. But would you have any objection to me reaching out sometime and having a cup of coffee with you and talking with you a little bit more about it in a more private space? Right? So you phrase the question so that no is the right answer. Would you have any objection to me reaching out sometime to set a meeting for some coffee to talk about it further? No, I would not have an objection to that. That's what makes the question magical. Everyone is predetermined to say no. Right? Cold call, telemarketer calls, somebody calls and asks for something. You're predetermined to say no. You're buying a new television. Would you like the insurance on that? No. Right? We're predetermined for no. So the magic question phrases things in the form of a no answer. Would you have any objection to me reaching out to you next week to set some time for us to talk further about that? No. Great. What's your phone number? Right? And what I do when I'm networking is I say, what's your phone number? And I dial it right in and I call them right away. I put the phone up to my ear, and it's funny how many people don't realize that it's me calling, even though I just dialed them, and they put their phone to their ear. They go, hello, it's me. And I hang up. I save their name. What's your last name again? Jones. Great. And then I send you a text right away while standing in front of you. Darian, it's Jeff. Pleasure to meet you. I look forward to catching up with you next week. I'll be in touch with times and dates for coffee. Right? And now I'm locked in, and I've got a dialogue going, and then I can exit and move on to the next person. And so what I do when I've done that is time to get out. So when you're live networking, how do you get out? It's the art of Alex. Do you know how to get out?
I mean, I assume at that point, after you called them and got the number, there's a little bit of, okay, he's going to reach out to me, conversation done.
So
I'm not good at stopping talking. I like to keep talking. So
that's why
that might not be a good question for me.
So what I might say is, I feel like Alex, I feel like I'm dominating your time. You're not here just for me. Let's just catch up next week. Let me, I'm gonna run and grab a cup of water. I'll see you before I leave, I bet. And I just exit. And I might just turn around and within 3 feet, bump into the next person. And I start the whole thing over again. Now, what do you guys think people are going to think of me after 6, 7 conversations in that room?
Can you hear me now?
Oh yeah, I got you, Clarissa. There you go.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
I don't know, just when I listened to the whole speech, it gave me anxiety, like I was on the other end, because I feel like I've been prepping, and I was like, man, I gave this person my number and then they're gonna call me, and then so how do you get the confidence to like lead those types of conversations?
It's coming from a genuine place of curiosity more than anything. Like I'm curious of people, and I know that the business that I'm in, people really benefit from, and everyone has a choice. So, Alex.
Oh, sorry. I was going to add on to that, Clarissa. I think an extremely important piece in the professional world and networking is, that feeling that you were talking about, I'm sure, where it's kind of like, that feels a little awkward.
Mm-hmm.
That is the feeling that you should feel, right? Jeff and I always like to tell people they're a little bit crazy if they don't feel any emotions like that at all, right? It is a natural and human feeling to feel uncomfortable. And I think that goes in any business. At some point in your life, you're going to feel uncomfortable, and that's a good thing, right? If you're feeling comfortable, push yourself a little bit further. Whether that's, asking for the number feels uncomfortable, whatever, it's good to start feeling uncomfortable when it comes to those things, asking for the number. And in the end of the day, Clarissa, you don't know until you ask, right? There's no way for you to know until someone tells you no. We always talk about seek no in situations like that.
You have to go get to the no, so you can validate your yes. Yeah, it's Clarissa. It's trained, right? I mean, if I went out and ran a marathon, it'd be very painful and uncomfortable. But I could train for it, and it would be less uncomfortable and less painful, right? So these skills are trainable, practicable skills, and it is uncomfortable. And that's why I started. Maybe you heard me say it's. No one likes doing this because of this reason, but if I were to execute on that strategy 6, 7, 8 times in a room of 30 people at a networking event, what most people would come away with from it, watching me move the room, is envious that I was able to navigate the room with a strategy, and I was curious about each individual person. Right. And where Clarissa, as you stated, like, geez, I got anxiety just listening to you. Well, you probably represent 90% of the room. Not a plan, anxious to execute, nervous about asking, how do you transition? Right. And so all I've been able to do to get over my own anxiety and insecurities to do it is to have a strategy. So, we use these acronyms. So I'll give you an acronym that's helpful. We use this in our interview process, where if we're trying to assess if somebody we're talking to could be a good advisor candidate to join our firm. And we use CLAP, C-L-A-P. So we would say, what do you currently do? What do you love about it? What would you change about it? Or what alternatives would there be? And can I offer you some perspective about my life and my career different than yours? So think about that as a framework. What do you currently do? Tell me more about that. How'd you come to do that? What do you really love about it? If you could change anything about your career, if you could alter any factor of the career that you have, what would that be? Right. And would you, based on everything you told me, would you mind if I give you some perspective on what I do and how it might be a fit for you if you wanted to learn more about it? Right. So clap. It's a great framework to engage in networking conversation. There's I'll come up with the other. We have another one we use. Our partner Jason Nat uses these. And what made me think of this, Clarissa, is Jason is very introverted. He says he hates people. He loves people. He's just introverted. People wear him out. He doesn't really hate them. But he's come up with all these tricks and these acronyms to like give him framework to engage, which is always nice. So let's questions on that. You guys have any thoughts on that or want me to share any more different there? Magic questions important. I'll give you one more tip. One more. Oh, go ahead. Natalie, go ahead.
I was going to say the question about the introvert thing, because I know some people, they go to events and like they're all hyped up to talk to people, but then what do you do in a situation where you're just tired? But you know you have to speak, like you have the chance to speak to a lot of people about your business. So have you guys ever had any of that?
Did I hear the question to be, you know you have an opportunity, you've got a lot of people you can share value with and meet, but you're tired?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter. And I'm very insensitive. I don't care. Like I have been tired. I have come off of airplanes right in like 6-hour flights right in networking events. I've had 7 meeting days that have ended up in networking opportunities over cocktails. It is what it is. It's business. I just put that in the, it's just business and we got to do what we got to do if we want to succeed. It goes back to kind of Alex's, there's this element of discomfort, which is it's us wrestling our own insecurities as we take ourselves to market. And then there's our own overcoming our feelings. And so what I always say is, and I'll use this example, I'll use Alex since he and I work very closely together. I used to say all the time to new advisors in our office, I don't really care how you feel. Your feelings are irrelevant to me. There's work that needs to be done. It doesn't matter if you've made bad choices the night before, or you're tired, or you're sick, or you have family issues. There's business that needs to be done, right? The reality is I do care. Right? I care about Alex because I like Alex. He and I have worked together for a number of years now. We've got to know each other, and his personal well-being is meaningful to me, and I do care. But the business doesn't care, right? The business is an inanimate object, and it requires of us more than we often want to give it, but we got to give it anyway. And so some of being kind of driving into this space, if I want to launch a business, or I want to be in business, or I want to, it requires more of us sometimes than we think. Very, very often, Natalie, we always underestimate the amount of work the results are going to take. And that's ultimately why people fall short of their results, is because they're just underappreciating how much work it takes. And so part of maturing in my career after 20 years is I just have a very heightened appreciation for what it's going to take of me to execute on something. And so it makes me, I have choices there. So it's still back to the choices thing. I could just choose not to do it, choose not to commit to it, choose not to expand it, choose not to put the goals there. But if I do, I need to be aware of what it's going to take. And sometimes I'm just going to be tired. And that's all.
Oh, sorry, Jeff.
Nope, go ahead.
I think something that helps with this, and Clarissa, this can help on you as well. This was something that we recently had. Has anybody heard of Mel Robbins before? Okay, so she is supposedly, I hadn't heard of her either until she came to speak at our regional meeting, to be completely honest with you. But one thing that she said that I thought was really interesting, and this is what has made her a top 5 speaker, is she does this thing where she just counts to 5 and then just does it. So in the last month, That's how I get out of bed in the morning at 4:44 a.m., right? When my first alarm goes off. And I'm like, could I sleep? I could, but then I started counting to 5 and now I get right out of bed. Like, I don't want to get out of bed. I just do it. And that little internal clock of thinking to 5 actually makes me do things that I don't want to do. Same thing when I'm having to ask hard questions, having to make a tough phone call to a client, whatever it might be, just do it, right? Jeff was 100% right on that. You just have to do it. There's a lot of things that are not fair that we don't like to do that you just have to do. I think in general, but the 5-second clock, look her up. Mel Robbins is amazing. I would highly recommend anything you do. Just count to 5 really quick and then just do it.
That's awesome. I remember that. I've heard her since she spoke, she referenced lots of people in our organization have referenced that. Sorry, Natalie, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was saying thank you.
Another trick to getting out of conversation. So back to how do we make things more comfortable in networking is have a plan, right? Have a plan on how you're going to engage, have a plan on how you're going to access contact information, have a plan. So I do my follow-up while standing there. Right? They get first contact with me before I've left the room. Is my best practices. And then have a plan for how you exit. And my first strategy on how to exit is make it about them. I don't want to take any more of your time. I'm sure there's 100 people here you'd like to go meet. I'm just going to step and grab a quick cup of water or go get a drink, or I'm going to go get a snack. Now, if somebody's trailing you, right, because they're uncomfortable and their anxiety is up and they've attached to you, and I'm a nice guy and I've asked a bunch of questions about them and now they feel with me and they want to follow me around, what do I do? If it's the first person you talk to that becomes the clinger, that's difficult. But if it's the second person that becomes the clinger, the third or fourth, fifth, sixth, or anybody after the first, you take your clinger around to another person that you've already met that you know a lot of information about, and you say, hey, Darian, I want to introduce you to Natalie. She and I just met. I think what you guys have in common is photography and videography. Right? And then I stop and you two have to figure out how to engage on that. And as soon as you do, I say, excuse me for a second, and I step away. So I drop a clinger onto the next person and step out. And in turn, now I'm a connector. In the room, I'm now the most interested person in everyone else, which makes me the most interesting person among everyone else. And now I'm the connector. I'm dropping people on people and making it now easier for everyone else to get in the flow of what we're doing. And so these are tricks. I mean, I was taught this by a professional networker who ran big networking events in Baltimore City years ago, and they are gold. It has me bobbing and weaving through crowds, meeting lots of people, never getting trapped, having a plan, and it just makes it easier. It's easier now, 20 years of experience, than it was when I was young, for sure. It was a very messy affair when I was young. One story on how this actually worked. I was sitting with 2 other managing directors from our organization. We were at the Bygone. You guys know where the Bygone is, at the top of the Four Seasons, downtown Baltimore. It's a beautiful restaurant. We were up there. It was like midnight, and some collateralized debt trader from Brown Advisory or Deutsche Bank or somebody was there. They had way too many drinks, and he was just talking, and 3 managing directors, we had him circled. We were just asking him 1,000 questions about himself. We knew everything. We knew every house project he was working at. We knew where his kids went to school. And finally he says, oh my God, you guys, I can't stop talking. What do you guys do? And so I wanted to throw the most ridiculous version of what I did at him to see what kind of response I get. So I said, oh, I'm a life insurance agent, which typically no one wants to talk to a life insurance agent. They'd rather talk to a financial planner who could help them with their insurance. But I went hard at the big one. I'm a life insurance agent. And sure enough, the guy goes, oh my gosh, I need life insurance. I said, hey, what's your number? I'll text you right now. We can talk tomorrow morning. I bet I can get you strapped into some new life insurance by the end of the week. He grabbed my phone out of my hand, typed in all of his contact information, texted himself my contact information from my phone, did my trick on himself, and I made him a client within 5 days. It was awesome. But he fell right into the trap of he was feeling embarrassed that he had done all the talking, even though we were prying him with all the questions. He didn't see it happening, and became a client. So that was fun. It was a good result for us. Now, beyond networking, there is your network. Like, we all know people, right? And so call it your natural market, call it your community footprint, call it your sphere of influence, whatever you want to call it. You've been collecting people in your life. And I think a really good exercise as you embark on what you're going to do as a professional in life is to build that sphere of influence, or build that natural market, and actually put it on paper. And so Alex and I have both done this. We ask all of our new advisors to build a spreadsheet of what we call their natural market or community footprint. And we require, even to get an offer to join our firm, that somebody has at least 250 people in their natural market, people that they just know, that they could call, that they have contact information from, that they could reach out to, be well received, and share with them what they do. So have you guys ever actually put on paper? Now, LinkedIn, this was the basis for what LinkedIn is. LinkedIn is the technological version of your personal marketplace, but it's been corrupted, right? Like, if somebody walks into my office and says, I've got 500 plus LinkedIn contacts, I'm like, that's not real. Those aren't real. This is like Facebook friends aren't real friends, right? But have you guys ever put on a spreadsheet your true natural market, people that you could reach out to and say, hey, it's Jeff. Remember me? We played X sport together when we were in middle school, right? This is another high anxiety ask, but you guys, Natalie, Darian, Clarissa, anybody?
No.
No. So I would highly recommend this. I'll use an example. Darian, are you planning to open your own videography or video production company? Is that your goal?
Yes.
Cool. So in your life, you've probably collected 300 people in your life that you know, but you probably have a belief that only 10 of them would ever need your services. I don't know, I'm making up numbers, but you get where I'm going, right? But what if you decided the first day you launched your business that you were going to call everybody in your natural market, and you were going to let them know that you own this business, that you want to talk to them about how you're going to develop this business, how they might help you get introduced in this business, how they might use you as individuals in this business, right? How fast you think you'd be able to grow that business if you called 250 people, scheduled meeting time with them, and said, here's my business plan, here's how I help, here's my pricing schedule, here's where you might plug me in, and then I want to meet these 3 people. Do you know anybody in that space? Marketing directors at nonprofit organizations in Baltimore City. You know anybody? Here's a list of all the directors. Any of those names jump out at you. Like, you can really start to build a grassroots campaign out of the people that you know, because after all, aren't they the ones that are going to support you the most? Right? I mean, even I'll go back, I'm 46 in April, 45 right now. So I got another, 40 days to go here. Not even before I'm 46. If somebody called me that I went to high school with, I graduated high school in 1994, right? I was out of high school before Alex was born, I bet. Yeah,
that's true.
If somebody from high school called me and said, hey, Jeff, it's Tom Young. You may not remember me, but we went to high school together. We spent a little bit of time together playing lacrosse, and I just wanted to reach out. I know we haven't spoke, and I know this is a business call, but I wanted to share with you this business that I just opened, get your insights on it, make sure you knew that I was doing it. Would you be open to having a 15 to 20 minute call with me? Or would you like to get a cup of coffee and just reconnect? I'd love to see you and share with you a little bit of what I'm doing. Of course, I'm going to say yes, right? Who wouldn't say, is anybody on the call wouldn't say yes to that call? Everyone's saying yes, right?
I might not.
You what?
Me too. I probably wouldn't either.
Why not?
I would be like, no, thank you. but good luck in your business.
Well, why wouldn't you take the call?
Because I haven't talked to him since high school. I don't know. I would just think it was like some ulterior motive. Like, what are you trying to get me to buy into? Like,
Exactly.
I would just.
All right, let's do it. Let's say I say all of that and then you say no. So Clarissa says no. And I say, oh my gosh, Clarissa, really? You're not going to take the time to see me? What do you say?
Well, no, I mean, good luck in your business, but I mean, I just don't really see where I can help you.
Clarissa, I may have misstated my intentions. Let me go back. I'm not trying to sell you anything. Matter of fact, I'm not even sure what you're doing for a living. I'm really looking for the support of the people that I've met in my life to make sure that everyone knows what I do in the off shot that at some point you might run into somebody that could use my services. There's going to be no ask at the end of this. I just want to get together and reconnect. Could we have coffee next Thursday at 2?
I would probably say, well, why don't we just talk about it right now?
Well, I'm making about 100 phone calls right now to home, and a lot of people you probably know. This time I have on the calendar right now is to get the calendar booked for next week. That's why I was hoping we could meet next Thursday at 2 o'clock. Would that work for you?
No, thank you. I spend a lot of time telling people no on the phone, and now I'm getting kind of leery because now people probably gonna tell me no on the phone.
Okay, so that's a good that's where I was going to go next. Personally, my defenses on the phone are very low because now I know what I need to do on the phone. So what has helped me in this, Clarissa, and what might help you is just because you say yes to the meeting doesn't mean you have to say yes to buying something. So I say yes to a lot of stuff. I just have the confidence to know that you're not gonna get me to do something I don't want to do. Right. So your pushback on the telephone call for networking is because you're worried that there's going to be a sale, an ask. You'll be asked to buy something. And ultimately, you're only nervous because you're worried about your own your lack of ability to say no to the ask to buy something, right? So which could stem from this idea that you don't like conflict, and by someone you saying yes to the meeting, you have coffee, then all of a sudden he's like, you need to hire me to do videography work. And you're like,
I think it's more because I don't have a problem saying no to people I don't know. Like if I'm at the car dealer and you're trying to negotiate something, I can say no, fine. But now that we have this personal connection and, we want to reconnect, I feel like I would have a harder time saying no in person because we have some sort of connection.
And I'm saying, I've been doing this for 20 years. People I don't know, people I do know. No is fine.
Okay.
You should be more confident to tell the people you do know no, and they should be okay with that more, and they are, because I've been told no a bunch by people that I know for a long time, and I'm fine, and they're fine. We're all fine. It's no big deal.
Well, then I'll have lunch with you.
My best friend doesn't buy insurance from me or invest money with me. My mother wouldn't give me a single referral to somebody to help, not once. So they were perfectly happy to say no. Guess what? He's still my friend and my mom's still my mom. So it's, it's the stakes just aren't that high, I guess is the point, right? Think about what's no. Like, look, I'll drive my buddy to the airport, but I'm not going to help him move. Right? So At what level do I start saying no to personal favors? Moving. We're not saying no to, we're saying no to that every time. Saying no to that every time. So.
Let me start saying yes.
Start saying yes. Just know you have the right to say no later. That's okay.
And I'm gonna have to start saying yes, because while they're telling me about their business, then I'm gonna have to flip it and start telling them about my business.
Got it. Got it. That's right. That's right. What is your business going to be?
It's called Tailored Fit. It's a tall, slim clothing line for boys between the ages of 6 to 19.
You're going to need to start getting out there and meeting people. So your business model, Clarissa, and your brand is uniquely marketed through your natural market. And so if you could come up with language that you could make phone calls like Alex and I do, that, hey, Clarissa, it's Jeff Crosley. I'm friends with Nicole. Nicole thought you and I ought to spend some time together. I want to make it clear that Nicole didn't say you were in the market for what we do, but just said you were a really nice person on a success track and just the kind of person that might find value in our work. I was hoping you and I might grab coffee next Thursday at 2. Does that work for you? That's a very fast, sped up version of what how we make phone calls, right? And then I am prepared to hear no, right? So think about the mindset. I'm not surprised when you say no. I'm expecting no. And if I'm expecting no, then I know how to handle it. You say, oh, no, I could never do that. I'm like, oh, well, is that because you work with somebody already? Or did Nicole say something that said you shouldn't meet with me? Why would you say no? And I question the no. And then you're like, I better come up with something better. This guy's not going to let me off the hook on a no. And you say, I already have somebody. And I say, oh, well, that's fine. If I waited around for clients to not have an advisor, I'd be waiting a long time. And most people who are successful like you are already working with somebody, but nobody's cornered the market on all the good ideas. And after all, Nicole did say you were successful and open-minded, just the kind of person that I'd want to spend time with. And no promises, but I think it'd be worth hearing how we help our clients. How about next Thursday at 2? Right? I just blow past it, go right back into it. And so how you start to do this, then when you get there, Clarissa, this is like you got a personal clothing line. You got to share your value proposition, but you could get referred to. Your market for referrals from people is what did you say the ages were?
6 to 19.
6 to 19. I mean, anybody that has children 6 to 19 that fit that mold, right? So what if you just, every objection you get, well, I got 9 friends that have kids between 6 to 19 who were either taller. What was the dimensions?
Tall, slim boys.
Tall, slim boys, right? But they don't have any money to buy custom clothes.
Oh, these clothes aren't custom.
All right. They don't have any money to buy tall, slim clothes. These boys are all in high waters. How do you overcome that? That's what I would be working on if I were you. Is like, what is yours is uniquely pitch related to how you get people to say yes and engage, like ours is.
Oh, so I would say these clothes are affordable though.
Yeah, but we're good. We're good.
Okay, well, if you know anyone else, send them my way.
All right, will do. All right, will do. You're gonna have fun with this.
Is that how it's supposed to go?
I'm excited for you. Let's see here. I think we're gonna wrap up here. Well, let me close with questions. What are you guys thinking about? What would you like to ask us? What do you want to hear more about? We got maybe a few more minutes to cover. Anything on your minds? Nothing?
Yeah, I have one.
Okay.
So this question came to my mind the other day. How do you make, and let me back up a bit. So my history is I've been a charge-off collector and also a regular collector as well as retail. And like Clarissa, I'm a designer.
Mhm.
So I design everything, but I specialize in upcycling, taking your old or new unused goods and turning it into something new again, right? The thing that I was thinking about, how do I make a interesting conversation without making it sound like I'm trying to sell somebody something? Make it more of a personal, I kind of know the answer to that. I go with my personality to
Mhm.
make the conversation go on. But if I wanted to make it, because with COVID, you kind of cut off from being social. So I
Right.
think I'm a little rusty with that because I haven't been in people's faces for a while. But that's my question. How do you keep the conversation interesting? It's kind of go off of what you were saying before with the example of you transfer one person to the next, so you're not stuck with the first person.
Yeah. Is it the question, how do you keep it interesting? And also, how do you keep it from being salesy?
Yes.
Okay. I'll answer it in two ways. The first is, I love this thought. No one walks onto a car lot that's not sellable. That's what car salesmen think. No one walked onto this car lot that didn't able to buy a car. Right? So similarly, no one takes a meeting with me that isn't financial planning curious. And similarly, Nicole, people aren't going to take meetings with you if it's a direct meeting that they're not curious and want to know how it works. So I share all that to say, sometimes don't worry about whether it gets into a pitch, because at the end of the day, the pitch is the leadership that people need sometimes so that it does stay interesting. Which is to say that if I've agreed to a meeting and the pitch never comes, I get annoyed because I want to know what we're doing. So that's one way I'll answer that is, and maybe that's just a big way of saying, maybe don't worry so much about whether it sounds like a sales company. And maybe you state that up front. Now, I think that all works in the context of you've called, scheduled some time, or you've emailed and you set up some time to go meet with somebody about what you do, right? You're there to do business. Now, if you're just networking, how do you keep it interesting and not sound like a pitch? You try to derive as much information from the person you're speaking with, so that when you go to talk about what you do, you're able to tell personal stories that they might see themselves in. Right? So I don't know that I know your business well enough to give you an example of that.
No, you hit it on the nail on the head with that, because I will have to give an example in order for them to see the value in what I do, and which is usually what I have to do anyway. And then it's a light bulb moment for them.
You got to set it up so they can see themselves in your work. And the only way you can do that is if you ask enough qualifying questions early enough.
Okay.
So that you can kind of load up on the ammo you need to be great when you do start making the turn on them, right? So you meet somebody new, you're feeling them out, and now the anxiety rises because now you want to make the turn into like, let me tell you about my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But when you make the turn, you can say things like, it's interesting, I heard you sharing a little bit about your son, and one thing that I've had to deal with my son is that the kid's like 6 feet tall in 4th grade, right? And so I had all these issues. When you start telling your story, right? I don't know if that's a relevant thing, and they can you come together with people on common ground, whatever that may be, and that they're interested because they're interested in you because you were interested in them and you made it relevant to them. That's how I do it. So I don't know if that was helpful or not, but
No, that was helpful. Thank you.
you're welcome. Anything else? Well, all righty.
I think that's it. I want to thank both of you guys. I'm going to stop the recording.